So in this episode, we're going to explore possibly the hardest topic of all for Asia, the one you're going to face, talent. Talent by far will be your biggest challenge, and while it may be a recruiter's dream, it's going to be a manager's nightmare. So the first thing you have to realize is actually marketing as a profession is relatively new in Asia. Take China as a case in point. Until the opening up of controlled capitalism, where you've got brands like Louis Vuitton or Prada coming down to the high streets, there was no need for mass consumer choice, so no need for marketeers. As a result, the profession did not exist. I remember the day when McDonald's opened up in Beijing's Tiananmen Square in 1992 as a massive news event. The same is true in places like Indonesia and Philippines. So when you've got such a young industry, it's no wonder there actually isn't a massive generation pool of talent to pick from. The second challenge is actually the marketing services and creative industries are not actually seen as a profession in most Asian cultures. They normally typically think about accounting, being a lawyer, being a doctor, or working in banking first. The problem with that is they don't attract the best talent. There are a few exceptions to this though. Take the Singapore government for example, where actually they recruit the best graduates in the whole country. They do that by paying the best wages. Maybe that's something that other governments could learn from. And finally, we have the education system. In my view, the best talent in the creative industries are what we call diagonal thinkers. Thank you IPA for that one. These are people who feel as comfortable looking at a spreadsheet as they are judging a creative idea. Now the problem here, like many markets, is that the education system is almost quite Victorian, based on principles of learn, recite and repeat. And that produces linear thinkers, not diagonal thinkers. Hence why you hear a lot of people complaining about the lack of common sense in young talent coming through and lack of initiative. LaSalle University here is a true exception to that, and it's the highest standard that we have here in the region. So what's the solution? Well, that's the billion-dollar question. Most people try and solve it by importing expensive expat talent into the region and then trying to nurture young talent through the ranks. But it's tricky. Other ways to look at it is maybe looking at some of the more mature markets in the region, like Korea and Japan. There's some fantastic talent in these regions, and basically bring it into the market that you're looking to. Or even look at Asian talent that's worked abroad and then is looking to come back. Another way of thinking about it is basically looking at the common languages of the world. And the common language is not English. One is code, because HTML is HTML, whether you live in Timbuktu or Mongolia, or looking at data, because the 1 and the 0 is the same anywhere around the world. Looking to centralize that talent could be an interesting way forward. So congratulations, you've now got some talent in your marketing team. The next challenge is retention. Sadly, this is a huge issue across the entire region. It's not uncommon, for example, in China, for companies to complain of an 80%, yes, 80% churn rate of their talent. So as we discussed earlier, the marketing profession is a relatively new one. That brings up another challenge, is that it means that basically the brands that people are working for, whether it be a client like a Nike or an agency, are also relatively new, which means that people tend to be more people loyal than brand loyal. Now that's a huge issue, particularly in the creative side, where it's not uncommon for when a creative director moves from one agency to another agency for the entire creative team to move as well. Now that may all seem a bit depressing, and in some ways it is, but you can take heart from the fact that the same problem whether you're Nike or whether you're Tencent. So all you can do really is look at the problem, define your values better than anyone else, define the kind of people you're looking for better than anyone else, and bring your best talent programs over here and localize them better than anyone else. So to summarize, your talent question is probably going to be your first, second and third priority. There's no quick fix to solving it because creative industry as a profession is still relatively new and won't be solved for another generation. Finally, think people loyalty as well as company loyalty. In the next episode, we're going to explore the creative industry and the creative talent that's in this region.